So I said I want to come here to drop some legitimacy on here, and the cool thing is I'm not a fanboy. So here we go. Crazy, don't look at me like that, bro. Don't look at me like that.
Cowboy,
You want to
I
hear what
mean,
I want to
crazy.
say?
You want to get smacked again?
Yeah. All right.
Smack what?
So
Wait,
here
what's
we
that?
go.
You
Now,
want me to get up again and smash
now
my
just
chair
listen.
now?
Don't hurt your back.
I'm
All
not
right.
going.
So the thing
Hey,
is,
you know, throw stuff around my room if you
huh?
want. You want to fight me now, man?
Nah, listen. Hey, listen. I'm a
I'll
lover,
throw.
not a fighter, man.
You don't want me to throw my? I'll throw my dog too. If you want to do
Listen.
this,
I
that's
just had
cool.
shoulder surgery. You know that. Come on, man.
Oh,
Calm down.
okay.
You
We're
know.
good then. Okay, we're
Yeah.
just
All
gonna
right.
chill.
It's not
Okay.
about that.
Okay.
Now, let's tackle this Ratchet and Clank. That game came out in 2020, right?
No. That game
Correct?
came out
2021.
2021.
Was it 2021?
June
Yeah.
2021, I believe.
Okay. So still, what we're 2 years later, right? So you got to figure that game was made and was in development how many years prior to 2021? At least four, right? So what I think is probably back then, maybe they felt back then, them having the architect that the PlayStation 5 had before it was even out, right? Probably what was around back then, besides a high end PC, probably was the only thing, and obviously they probably wasn't able to try it on an Xbox, right? So I think they believed what they said, and I think back then, I'm going again 2021, probably 4 years prior to 2021. That probably was the case back then. But all these years later, of course, the Steam Deck. Look what's in the Steam Deck, right? Of course, look what's in PCs now, right? So I think personally, I think it's one of those things where I say like Crazy Louis, be like, man, I'll tear the Cowboy up. Now he said that last week. Now I'm on here and he met me. He's like, oh yeah, I can't compete. But back then, it sound good. It sound
Yeah.
good. Everybody was eating it up. Last week on the show, he running his mouth, and everybody believed it. And guess what? Last week when he was running his mouth, maybe it was true because I wasn't here in person. So it was true. It was a fact. But now, fast forward a week later, everything he said was not a fact because the Cowboy's here looking sharper than ever, even though I haven't worked out and God knows the gun's still here. So I'm still, so at the end of the day, I think Ratchet and Clank, I don't know, 5 years ago, probably listen, they probably was like, yeah, we can't put this on a PlayStation 4. I mean, technically you probably could, but to snap your finger and you go into different dimensions, that probably couldn't happen. But it's cool to see where things is now. Now I did see somebody do a video on I think it was a Steam Deck, and like it wasn't as smooth, but it did work, right?
It did work.
So
Yeah.
I think that's what the case was at the end of the day. It's really not that it can't work, but how smooth will it work? Because in gaming, we're used to load screens. We're used to remember Resident Evil, the door opens. Even look at Destiny, you watch a
That was
picture.
the worst.
But look at how Warframe jumped over Destiny. Warframe, you show you can move your ship, but it's still a loading screen, but you're moving the loading screen. So I just think, yeah, technology caught up to them. So they words back then just wasn't good enough today. So you can't make a blanket statement and think it's going to last forever. And so they got to eat it, right? Because anybody could be like, "Oh, look, it can't do it," and they could be like, "That wasn't out back then. I don't care."
Cowboy.
So,
Cowboy, I'll throw you one that I still harp on it, and I've continued to harp on it
okay.
because it's ridiculous. And again, it's marketing rhetoric, but I've been having a blast with the whole idea of like we saw games that have started being announced as 30 frames per second, and all I can think constantly is, but I was told that my Series X could eat monsters for breakfast.
Yeah.
You know, like it's again,
Both
it's
consoles.
a marketing ploy. It works. It works. It's been proven. It works like time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly one of my favorite things is a good trailer, right? I always tell people make a some people be like, how you never played that game? You never liked that, bro. Apparently, what I've word of mouth and trailers didn't suck me in. It's not my fault. Show me that trailer, I'll be like, oh snap. Anyway, so now to get on to this, I think so. I was speaking out of turn at first, right? On my show, we kind of was talking about it, and I didn't look into it yet. I just heard what people were saying, and I didn't know they was using the emoji with the glasses and all that. I'm like, bro, that's not cool. You like really poking the fan base, right? But what I'll say is this, and guys, don't get mad at me. People get mad if you say the PlayStation 5 SSD is faster. No, it ain't. But here's what I like to say.
It
Does
is.
anybody ever get mad when the Xbox Series X is said that they have 12 teraflops versus
Yeah.
10.28? You just say, no, that's fact. No one
That's
gets
fact.
mad. No one be like,
Hmm.
no, it ain't. No, it's there. It is there. So what if the PlayStation SSD was 2 seconds faster? That's just
Yeah.
that's just the right. So who cares? But if we go into this developer and they're saying that, I'm kind of with you guys. I think they're fanning the flames. But at the end of the day, maybe like we won't know till this game come out, and they're still developers. The game, it could be the identical, and they could still put a loading screen in it. To be honest with you, and you'll be like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
"See, they
you
told
could.
you."
Yeah.
They could mischievously do that, but if it
Yeah.
is some truth to it, I mean, it's just a fanboy thing. They're obviously using that, like you said. They might have got some more pre-orders. But I also think for every jest there is truth. And so, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if Digital Foundry ever did a what SSD is
They did.
faster, but at the end of the day, it's all called optimization, right? It's all about
Yeah.
what do you have and what game you're going to put on that, and how do you utilize what
How
you
do you
have.
utilize it?
Now,
Yep.
hold on real quick. Look at
Yeah. Yeah.
first party developers, right? You look at the PlayStation games; they got 120 frames per second. Everything got a performance mode. You'll look at games like Gotham Knight. Well, I give them a pass because they said we can't do it because of that. How do they call it? The whatever tethering. Their multiplayer. They said you could go from one end of the stage, and so they said it's
Yeah.
called something tether. They have a
That
name
that
for it.
honestly, if we look at that, games that have that normally have been having trouble
Right.
with high
So
FPS. Yeah.
So my thing is that look at Xbox games. Typically, when it's a first party game, they do in an Xbox first party game. Don't use Redfall because Xbox that wasn't an Xbox game. So I hate when people do that. Like whether the fanboy stuff or not, I like to live in truth, right? I like to like say what it is. It is what it is. I don't like when people try to jab Xbox and it's just nonsense. It's like now you're just talking stupid stuff. We gotta have a good conversation if we're gonna stick on
Yeah.
facts and some good,
Yeah.
educated guess. But if you're just like, well, look at Redfall, bro. Anyway, so at the end of the day, I think the developers that know their way around these consoles, like you said, the direct storage, they didn't even know about it, right? So if it was an Xbox game, they probably could have utilized that. So it might be some truth to the developers because maybe their knowledge isn't that good. Maybe they're like, man, like look at. There's a bunch of developers that came out. Look at Square Enix with Final Fantasy. They said we decided to make this game for PlayStation first because it was an easier game to put on PlayStation first. Personally, I think that game, like 20% of it looks amazing, and 80% of it, PlayStation 3 want their graphics back. Final Fantasy 16 is not a beautiful game, bro, by far. Like there's the icon battles, you like, whoa, and everything else, and some of the characters, you like, yeah, I seen you in Grand Theft Auto on PlayStation. But yeah, so I think it could be some truth to what they're saying, but it could be their lack of knowledge for the Xbox that they probably don't know what they can do. So, but they are stirring it
Yeah.
up. Once you put a emoji with your glasses on, the shades, like, come on, bro. Yeah. So,
Let me
Here-
ask you
yeah,
this,
What we're
Cowboy.
doing at that point.
Can I jump in real quick since I've been kind of quiet,
I forgot you was on the show.
Yeah, I've been kind of quiet because they
Ran
said
away. Got scared.
No, I did not run away. You guys put me in check. You're like,
Okay.
okay, wait, crazy.
Who put you on what?
Silent
You want
told
a
me.
timeout?
earlier.
What was
we
that?
put him in timeout.
Silent put me in check.
Did
But
someone
Time
someone
him
call
out.
for time? Oh, I did.
Time him out.
yeah,
Time
Silent
him
said,
out.
wait.
Throw them bars up, Sour.
So wait, so let me bring up something real quick. I remember before these consoles came out, I read an article. I gotta find that article because it was a really good article. For example, for first party, as you mentioned, right? Cowboy, we see how the SSD on the PS5 works. We see it, and we see how fast that sucker loads the games in and does all that stuff. Now, when you grab all these third party developers, right? Sometimes the Xbox is a bit faster, like 1 second, 2 seconds, sometimes 5 seconds. Sometimes the PS5 could be 1 second, 2 seconds, or 5 seconds. And the reason why is when I read the article, they brought up a good point. They brought up a good fact. These third party developers will try to use the best out of this technology because they find it too expensive to use it to adapt the games as the first parties. So they'll try their best to adapt them, to adapt them as fast as they can, for them to load up like this. That's the whole point. They were talking about that. It was a really good article. It was like in 2020. I just got to remember who wrote it.
I feel
But
like if you
literally,
don't have the article on hand, you made it up. I'm just saying.
oh no, no,
I'm just
no,
saying. I'm just saying.
no, no, no. I didn't make it up because we see it in digital foundry. We see the digital foundry. You see how fast the Xbox sometimes goes in the PS5, and then we see the PS5 goes a lot more fast than the
Right.
Xbox. But when we see first party games on the PS5, we see how fast that sucker loads. Right, it loads up really fast. So basically, it's the way how, like you said, they optimize those games and put those
Yeah.
games on the console and all that stuff. So yeah. So either way, though, they were talking about how magical it was, and it was so beautiful and so marvelous and so dynamic, and so this is what it will do with these games and balance this out and do all this stuff. Yo, it's just an SSD. Come on, guys, come on.
But
Yeah.
let me ask Cowboy this, because he brought up a good theory
Yeah.
Mhm.
about basically Ratchet and Clank. At the moment they started developing the game, they probably thought everything they said was true, was legitimate. And I have a certain theory that maybe it's true, maybe it's not. It's just my theory, but I do think that the PlayStation 5 at the time they had that console, they probably thought that they might have the either the most powerful console, or that the Xbox would be like on par. And I think what they did is they kind of overclocked it a little bit in order
Mhm.
to get that 10.5 teraflops,
10.28.
10.28.
Yeah.
And that's why we have a bigger PS5 console rather than a smaller size. Because I honestly don't think that that was their initial like thought process on the console. But then when the Xbox Series console, like I think it was Silent Mention, came in hot, they were like, wait a minute, we can't have like 8 teraflops to 12. We gotta close this margin on. What do you think about that?
You know what's crazy? Remember when they wouldn't release the price? Sony was kind of dirty. They was like, we won't release the price until we know the Xbox price. So yeah, I mean, I think it's some thought to that. Like but I think that's business, right? You listen, they know their direct competitor is Xbox. Xbox know their direct competitor is Sony. So now things has changed a little bit with subscriptions and cloud and stuff like that. But I think that's what you're supposed to do, right? You don't just give up and say, yeah, we're just gonna throw our eggs out there and let the competition see. You hold out, you hold your cards out, and so yeah, I mean that could be definitely some truth to it. You got 12 teraflops and you got 10.28. So I remember
Yeah.
watching the PlayStation teardown and them saying the way they utilize certain stuff, they didn't need it to be more powerful than 10.28. So at the end of the day, we're watching games come out. We're watching games look beautiful on both sides. We're watching developers say they struggle on both sides. Well, not really. They struggle on Xbox, but I think that's because of Series S. But it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you.